My name is JoAnne Allen, President of ACTION4NOW, the former President of Stokes County NAACP as well. Today, we call this press conference together so that we can allow the public to know exactly what's going on and how Winston-Salem got to where it is and where the corruption comes in, so that our city cannot and have not been able to take care of the residents of Winston-Salem. Okay? The first thing I want to do before we do anything is just take a quick moment so that we can go ahead and honor those who are no longer with us, whether it was COVID or something else. So let's just take a brief moment, please. Just keep everybody's in your heart and your prayers. And let me also just say that, please, whatever you do, please keep Yusuf Suggs L in your prayers, his son and everyone. Let's just keep him close to our heart, all of them, because he did make a tremendous benefit to everything that we're doing. He was part of all of this as well. Okay. We're going to start very quickly because this conference was called because what we want to do is actually follow the money. That's what we want to do. That's the problem to a lot of the issues that we have right here in Winston-Salem, Forsyth County. I know it's all across the country, but what we have to do is start at home before we do anything. So what I'm going to do is just kind of give everybody a very foundation so that you can know exactly what it is that we're talking about, that we've been talking about since 2013, 2014, okay? Let's start with 2000. In 2000, we elected Alan Jones, or he actually ran for mayor and was elected in 2001. In 2002, he started the Winston-Salem Alliance. In 2001, he was actually elected the mayor of Winston-Salem. When he started the Winston-Salem Alliance Group, because we're going to talk about some of these private nonprofit organizations, and it's a couple of them, and this is where the problem lies, because with these private nonprofit organizations, what has happened is that an idea that was really great when it started, along with Wake Forest University, back in the late 1980s, the early 1990s, the idea was great. The idea back then was, guess what? We need to bring some type of revenues here to Winston-Salem, Forsyth County, because during this period of time, there was over 50,000 employees that was employed by R.J. Reynolds, Haynes, and Piedmont Airlines. Well, we kind of lost that. So that left the city very, very deflated. It left the city down and out. You know, people were out of jobs. There was no place in the country where people without an education, a high school education, was making the kind of money that they were making back then, okay? So now that brings us to a conflict of interest. Stay with me. A conflict of interest is between a person's private interest and their public obligations, okay?
Quick impromptu introduction.
So what we're looking at, let's start in 1987. And this starts with Robert Ingelston, who was the president of DataMax. And what they did, they formed a corporation called the Winston-Salem Business, Inc. And the Winston-Salem Business, Inc. was headed or chaired by Robert Bob Leake. You all have heard that name before because he's the owner of the Union Cross Business Park, okay? The Winston-Salem Alliance was formed in 2000 and incorporated by Alan Jones in 2001. Mr. Bud Baker, who is the Chief Executive Officer of Wachovia Corporation and Chairman of the Winston-Salem Alliance in 2001, Target-Sep, a spinoff of R.J. Reynolds, was a pharmaceutical company that was already here. It was privately owned and held by R.J. Reynolds. And the reason I'm going over this is because you're going to hear these nonprofits and these names later on. The Millennium Fund was created by the Winston-Salem Alliance in 2002. And the president of that private nonprofit organization was Mayor Alan Jones. Okay? Bud Baker, once again, was the chairman of the Winston-Salem Alliance, and the money that they raised for these private nonprofit corporations was to start or jumpstart things for private businesses. Okay? At that time, the millennial officers was Alan Jones, and I want you to take note of the names. Ralph Wumble, and Ralph Wumble was actually the president and CEO of Hanes Brand, or Hanes. Then there was Dunn Flo. You all know Mr. Dunn Flo from Flo Motors. David Neal. I think Mr. Neal was over the Buick car company. F. Borton Haynes, Reggie Haynes, and a couple other ones. Now let's bring in the Winston-Salem Foundation. The Winston-Salem Foundation has a relationship with the Winston-Salem Alliance and the Millennium Fund. Keep in mind, the Winston-Salem Alliance and Millennium Fund are both operated by Alan Jones, the mayor of Winston-Salem. Let's get back to the Winston-Salem Business, Inc., who once again, the president is Robert Bob Leake. Now, even with this private nonprofit, actually he owned two at the time, but more than two, but we're just gonna concentrate on that, and the Forsyth County Development Corporation. Dunn Flo was the chairman of the Winston-Salem Business, Inc., chairman of the Winston-Salem Alliance, the Millennium Fund, another private nonprofit you're going to hear about called Ideal Alliance, and now the Winnetka Park Development Authority, okay? So I want you all to just have that little basic right there so that you can kind of see what's going on and everything, but this is what's important. When our elected officials first run for office and they actually win, they take an oath. And that oath is part of the North Carolina Constitution as well as the United States Constitution. They take an oath to the people by putting the people first. That's their oath, to follow the duties and the obligations of that. So when they don't do that, what we have to do is figure out, well, we just won't vote them back in. Unfortunately, that doesn't work here in Winston-Salem, because Winston-Salem and Forsyth County has an electoral process that we turned over evidence back in 2010. That's when we first started turning over the evidence to show that things weren't right, that there was cheating coming from the inside as well with people from the outside. And we know this because there's a video of former councilperson Vivian Burke where she has admitted on the video that she had someone downtown over at the Forsyth County Board of Election who could keep her in office for an additional 40 years if she wanted to stay there. These aren't my words, these are her words. And she's telling the truth because when Rob Kaufman, who used to be the executive director for the Forsyth County Board of Election, when he was in charge, we caught him red-handed, me and several others, at the Forsyth County Board of Election cheating. But the big cheating actually comes through the system itself, okay? If you have the password to get into the election computers, guess what? You can go in and manipulate anything that you want. And the reason we know this is because the people who help these individuals cheat, they work there. It was 5, 6, or 7 of them. They actually worked there. So when we went to the state, when we went to the feds, but especially the state, because we wanted to do things correctly. And when we went to the board, you know, the election committee board and everything, they swept it up under the rug. That's what they did. They swept it up under the rug. But you know who it hurt? It hurt you, and me. Because whoever you voted for, your vote didn't go towards that person. It went towards the people they wanted to continue to have in office. We're not telling you something that we think. We're telling you what we know because we turned over this evidence to a Thomas, the special agent name was Thomas Barrett over in Greensboro, the FBI, the Federal Bureau of Investigators. And we turned over a lot, several times. We turned over evidence throughout the years, starting in 2010. That's when we started, okay? And then we turned over evidence again in 2013 because it takes years for them to gather all this information. But lo and behold, I didn't know that in 2013 that I was going to stumble into the corruption right here in Winston-Salem with the mayor of Winston-Salem and others, and this has been going on for decades. It didn't just start, it's been going on for decades. So now, here we are in 2021. We've got things across the country, we've got people getting killed, we've got neighborhoods being gentrified. There's a lot of issues that's going on. We've got poverty right here. In 2002, when Mayor Jones became mayor, guess what? Poverty rose from 26% to 78% by 2008. You know why? Because all the money, our tax dollars and everything that should have been coming back into the community, back into Winston-Salem, was going to Mr. Jones' private nonprofits along with his friends. And I do call names, and I can do that because this is evidence that I've already turned over to the FBI, the Department of Justice, and others, okay? We've had enough. We've had enough. Our town has suffered, our people have suffered, our school, everything that you see, including the school system, everything starts right here at the top. And when you compile all the people, and once again, I do name names, Mr. Robert Bob Leake, the president and owner of Union Cross Business Park, who has received over $60 million, I'm not even counting the county, of our tax dollars for Union Cross Business. See, you and I, we would have to go to a bank and get a loan. They don't have to do that. And then they get 20, 30 years down the road to pay for everything that they do. So if you get, right now, with $60 million, $60 million from 2001 until, well, it's probably more now, okay? And then when you look at all these private, nonprofit organizations, and let me name them once again. The Winston-Salem Alliance. This is the one, once again, owned by Mayor Alan Jones. He has paid himself over $500,000 salary. So isn't that kind of strange that if you're getting tax money and putting it into your private nonprofit organization to help someone like Dell or to help some other companies that's coming here, that's not right. That's not a conflict of interest. That's just flat illegal. Because you have information that the rest of the public do not have. You don't have that information. You didn't know, that Dell was coming to Winston-Salem. But guess what? Everyone knows where Dell is, or where it was, because now Herbalife is there. But guess what? We, the people, we owned all of that property. We owned it, the taxpayers. So why did Alan Jones and Bob Leake go to the city council and ask them to approve it so that they could purchase that property. They purchased that property where Herbalife is right now, where Dale was, because they were already making plans with Dale to come here. So if we already own the property, and then the city council members back then said, well, okay, in 2009, let us go ahead and buy the property, and then when Dale came now, they sold the property to Dale. We didn't benefit from that. We, the people, didn't benefit from that. But Alan Jones and Bob Leak did. And I'm not going to give you all the examples because there are way too many. So this is why we are following the money, and this is why we have turned over these things, because this is just one example. This is why we have turned over all of these things to the FBI. And once again, I do believe in calling names. So when we did that, you know, Special Agent Schultz out of Greensboro, John Strong out of Charlotte, these are the FBI locations. And not just that, we've also alerted the federal on the national level, up in DC. Because you know who has been hurt the most? The people of Winston-Salem. And then when we found out that just like they started everything pretty much, all these private nonprofits originated right here in Winston-Salem, Forsyth County. The Piedmont Triad Partnership, that was started by the same group of people, Alan Jones, Don Flo, Bob Leak, okay, and Ralph Wumble, right here in Winston-Salem. And this was supposed to be the only nonprofit, okay, that was supposed to bring businesses into the whole state of North Carolina. Now look at our whole state. Let's go back 20 years, because that's how long, that's what we're talking about. If we go back 20 years, you will see, wow, look at all the businesses that's come to the state of North Carolina. Look at all the businesses that have come to Winston-Salem. You can build all the buildings that you want downtown and give our money away. Buildings do not mean progress. Buildings do not mean progress. But in the interim, what you've done, you put all this money back into your pocket, because the one thing I can say with all of these private nonprofit organizations is that the money was very interchangeable. In other words, if the city of Winston-Salem gave money to Bob Leak for Union Cross Business Park, guess what? He would donate or contribute some money over there to the Winston-Salem Alliance. Okay? If money was given to the Millennium Fund, then the money would also go to the Winston-Salem Business Inc. Something's wrong with this. It's called being illegal. Because remember I just read the oath. I just told you about the oath that these individuals took. But you all didn't know about it because they didn't want you to know about it. And if it was transparent, then guess what? They would have come and they would have shared all this with you a long time ago. They didn't do that. They did not do that. And this is why Winston-Salem is my home. My grandfather came here in 1897, worked for R.J. Reynolds, building up the buildings downtown for R.J. Reynolds and across the city. He married my grandmother, who was Irish. They had 13 children. Winston-Salem is my home. Me and my husband, we could have retired anywhere we wanted to. As a matter of fact, we were 10 minutes away from the beach down in Florida. But when I saw what was going on here in Winston-Salem, and the fact that nobody knew exactly what was going on, or the fact that when you have a mayor and his friends that said, tell you what, we're gonna come to the black community and we're going to give all the churches a little bit of money. And you take it, that's fine. Don't have a problem with that. The problem I have is when the ministers and the community leaders decided that they're going to be quiet about the things that's going on in the community. such as the shootings, such as the educational part of it. And this is why nothing has been done. It was like stepping back in time 20 years. That's what this felt like, 20 years. But guess what? The one thing I do know we can do is that I'm just telling you all just a tiny smidgen of what they've done. And I've gone to them first to let them know over the years. And this is why they wanted you all to think that we didn't know what we were talking about or what we were doing. Because they didn't want you all to know the truth. They didn't want you all to know the truth. And the truth is that let's look at 5th Street, let's look at East Winston, let's look at North Winston, let's look at Northeast Winston. Do you all remember when the city annexed a lot of property in 2003? Guess what? We were part of that. We were part of that. But what you all didn't realize is that the reason they annexed it in is because now Mr. Bob Leak didn't have to worry about paying anybody that came out to Union Cross Business Park, didn't have to worry about paying sewage. You know why? Because we, the taxpayers, picked all of that up. And right now, as we sit, you all don't hear about it, they're sitting at $500 million with a B in debt because PepsiCo, Dell, all these companies, they didn't have to pay for sewage. But if we go and purchase a home in the rural areas or whatever, we have to pay for it. But we are the ones that's paying for all of their everything. That's all I can tell you is that they have really, really raped, and I have to use that word, they have truly raped us as citizens, as taxpayers, and now, guess what? Everything's getting ready to go up again. It's getting ready to go up again. We just lost 2 assistant city managers downtown, with the 3rd one trying to get out as well. But my point is that we've had enough. And it's time for the feds to come in. I know it's a lot of people involved. It really, truly is. But what we have to do is stand strong and understand that we can do something. And see, there is no statutory provision right now that says that you can recall a mayor or city council members. There's no that's only for state senators. But there is nothing. You have to either put it in your charter or your ordinance, but guess what? There is something that we can do. We can recall them. They don't want you to know that the city of Winston-Salem do have a provision. And if that doesn't work, then guess what will work? There's a very, very old common law. It's not a state law, but it's a common law because we do have to follow the Constitution of the United States. And it's called a motion. That means that we have the authority and the power to come in and remove these individuals who are corrupt. And like I said, we're going to forget the word conflict of interest because we passed that a long time ago. Okay? We can remove these individuals for a cause. And we have enough for a cause. If you just look around, you don't ever put businesses and buildings, structures before the people. You just don't do that. But that's what has happened here. And the reason they were able to get away with it is because people just didn't know what they could do. And then you also have to understand that being the mayor, you have the power with all these private nonprofit organizations. And when you read the list of the names of everybody that's connected, you're going to find the same names, that all of these people are the same private nonprofit organization. They all are. You're going to see that. So they take care of their own, but it's the people who actually put the name of Winston-Salem on the world's map. Guess what? The ancestors, you know, the the sons, the grandsons, and daughters, these are the ones that should be reaping some of the rewards, but they aren't. They aren't. Because the mayor, Mr. Bob Leake, Mr. Don Flo, Mr. Ralph Womble, these were the first people, when Allen Jones when they raised $45 million in 2004, they didn't raise it for the city of Winston-Salem. They raised it for their private nonprofits. And you know, the very first thing they did with that, they gave most of it, or a lot of it, to Don Flo and Ralph Womble, who were owners of the Neeson building downtown, because they purchased it. So if I give you $1 million, there's no oversight to it. There's no oversight to it. You can take 25,000 of it and go on the other side of town and purchase some more property. There's no oversight to it. And then if I give you 30 years to pay it back, but then after 10 years, we charge it off, do you all understand where I'm going with this? This is how serious this is. And we have accumulated all of this evidence and this information, because you won't find it just brushing over things. This is real research, and this is why we're asking, we're requesting, we're demanding that the feds come in and represent us, because we're the taxpayers. We pay their salary. We want them to, I don't know what they're doing, and they will never tell you how they're doing their investigation. But we need for all the people to understand that what you see here in Winston-Salem has been a plan by design. The economic betrayal and corruption of Winston-Salem. Let me say that again. It's been a plan by design. The economic betrayal and corruption of Winston-Salem. With your tax dollars and my tax dollars. And now the generation is older. They're losing their homes. We've been talking about poverty, gentrification. We've been talking about unemployment. All of this goes back to Allen Jones and that plan by design. And the fact that they are all multi-millionaires as a result, because they were privy to information that nobody else had. All the people who have been involved in it, Mr. Mike Suggs, Goler CDC, Mr. Suggs was the liaison between R.J. Reynolds and the city of Winston-Salem back then. He's profited. Just take a look at his Renaissance LLC, okay, or Goler Development, LLC. And just multiply that by many and many so that you can see. And then when you see these individuals, they give you a little bit of crumbs like a face mask, like they've done something. That's not taking care of the people, and that's not putting the people first. This is my home. Me and my husband, we could have retired anywhere we wanted to. But this is my home. My family is still here. Your family is here. We go out and we talk about the school system not right. Okay? We talk about the neighborhoods. Just coming to the meeting on the roads today. How many potholes did you hit? In 2014, Ms. Dee Dee Adams, and once again I do call names, because Ms. Dee Dee Adams also sit on the Whitaker Park Development Authority. So how come they didn't tell you 20 years ago that their plan was to make Winston-Salem a medical research town? Because if they wanted to include you all, then what they would have done, they would have started the school system saying, look, we got to educate our children so that they can have these jobs that we're trying to get here. That goes back to what I said. I think the plan started out being an excellent plan. I really do. But somewhere down the line, greed came in. And then with the greed came, well, we're just looking out for ourselves. And that's exactly what they did. And this is once again, and let me just read this before I close or take any questions. This is an article 2016 from Politico. It says, Bud Baker had only 1 month, here we go. Had only 1 month to convene the city powers brokers in a new economic development group called the Winston-Salem Alliance. This is Politico 2016. It must have taken months and months to put this all together. Then Mayor Jack Kavanaugh complained to the Wall Street Journal. This is what he said. We were hearing about all the good things they're going to do for the community, and all the while they were selling us out. Let me read that to you again. This is the mayor, the ex-mayor, Jack Kavanaugh, okay? And this is what he said about the Winston-Salem Alliance. Not my words, his words. We were all hearing about the good things they were going to do for the community, and all the while they were selling us out. Okay? It says, a Democrat, talking about Alan Jones, backed by many of the city's big Republican donors, Jones has been mayor ever since while retaining his day job at the Alliance. What we said from the outset is that we would never ask the local government for money, and that we would be totally transparent in everything we did so there would be no conflicts, Jones explained. These aren't my words. This is the Mayor Jones. So, with that being said, that they would never ask for any city money, what happened? They lied. And if you go back and take a look at the 990 forms, the IRS 990 forms, you will see that Alan Jones have 40 hours that he put into this business. Well, if he put 40 hours into the Winston-Salem Alliance, and I believe it, then when is there time to do city work? When is there time for him to be the mayor of Winston-Salem? To listen to your concerns, my concerns, anybody's concerns, okay? So with that being said, and there's so much more, the point is that we have been duped, we've been bamboozled, we've been bought out and off, all of these different things. And while we're trying to get and educate everybody as to what's going on, it comes back to what we said. So what do? The solution is simple. What we have to do is take the next step, and that's removing these individuals. This has nothing to do with campaigning or anything. It's about removing these individuals because they are corrupt. And as you can see from the previous, one of the previous mayors, they sold us out. They sold us out. So we have to do more. We have to take that next step.